President Trump was the first and so far, I think, almost the only one among the Western leaders who repeatedly, with conviction, several times stated that it was a huge mistake to pull Ukraine into NATO. Ukrainians and the people like Macron, Starmer, and Ursula von der Leyen, now they say Ukraine is in favor and Russia is against the ceasefire. Biden administration decided that with Russia it should be different. Russia must learn a lesson, and this lesson, this punishment, would be in the form of isolation. Stupid, to put it very politely. This is the only way to resolve the problem and to establish long-lasting peace. Remove root causes. President Trump was the first and so far, I think, almost the only one among the Western leaders who repeatedly, with conviction, several times stated that it was a huge mistake to pull Ukraine into NATO. And this is one of the root causes which we quoted so many times. They also mention now another thing which related to the root causes, namely territorial issue. Mm-hmm. They publicly, including Steve Witkoff, they recognize that the territorial issues would have to be handled in the context of the long-lasting settlement. And
this is the Americans.
The Americans, yes. And I would like to, by the way, when Ukrainians and the US delegations in Riyadh agreed on some paper in favor of 30-day ceasefire, this was done in the context of the Americans saying NATO and territories inevitable. No NATO and discussion on the status of territories. Ukrainians and the people like Macron, Starmer, and Ursula von der Leyen, now they say Ukraine is in favor and Russia is against the ceasefire. But they lose sight, I think, on purpose, from the nuances, as Putin called them, NATO and territories. Because it is in the context of these aspects that the American proposal was put forward. Immediately after this was mentioned by the Americans, Zelensky administration said, NATO is none of your business, territories we don't discuss, we need arms, arms, and arms. And then, since it was in time of discussions of this peacekeeping thing, Zelensky said, we don't need peacekeepers, we need fighting units. So the schizophrenia of these mutually exclusive statements is very obvious. But on territories, I want to make a very important point.
Sure.
We are not about territories. We are about people who live on these lands, whose ancestors lived there for centuries, who founded cities like Odessa, Catherine the Great, who built factories, who built roads, ports, and these people, by twist of history during the Soviet days, became not part of Russia, but part of Ukraine, because this was considered a consolidating factor to neutralize the ultra-radicals living in the western part of Ukraine when it joined the Soviet Union after the war. The people who live there, they are being deprived of all human rights. I quoted the UN Charter, which in Article 1 says everybody must respect human rights of every individual, irrespective of race, gender, language, or religion. Religious and language rights of anybody who is ethnic Russian and lives on the territory which used to be Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, they were deprived of their basic rights. The Russian language has been prohibited at all stages of education, in the areas of culture, media. Russian books have been thrown out of the libraries. The Nazists in Germany were burning them, but Ukrainians are much more smart. They utilize them and get money for this, you know. So, but everybody is happy. And recently, the canonic Ukrainian Orthodox Church was prohibited by law. They literally exterminate anything Russian. When in 2021 in September, long before the operation which we had to launch, Zelensky was asked in an interview what he thought, and at that time the Minsk agreement was still valid, though later Germans, the French and the Ukrainian president before Zelensky admitted that they never intended to implement them. They needed more time to arm Ukraine. Speaking of the ceasefire for 30 days, logic is the same. But in September 21, Zelensky was asked what he thought about the people on the other side of the line of contact in Donbass. And he said, trying to sound clever, you know, there are people and there are species. And my advice to those who live with Ukraine but feel associated with the Russian culture, for the sake of your kids, for the sake of your grandchildren, get out to Russia. And just a couple of weeks ago, in another interview, when he was asked what is driving him, you know, he said, hatred to Russia. The interviewer wanted to clarify to Putin. He said, no, to all Russians. And this is said by the person who, during his artistic days, was defending the right of Ukrainians to speak Russian. And he said, get lost. Don't even think about touching the Russian language. It's our history. So this is where we are. Hatred is not the best guide. Can you imagine? By the way, I want to. Maybe somebody knows. Israel never prohibited Arab language. No, I don't think so. So I think Ukraine is the only country on earth which is multinational and the language of one huge ethnic group is prohibited.